Do you get uncomfortable being around these people?
That's a good question.
Because there's a psychological aspect to particularly like chimp crazy. There's something about those people that makes me uneasy watching it on TV. Like, you're so far gone. Like, some of these people are so far gone in terms of like just being a normal, present, rational person.
Yeah. There's a courtship, and sometimes that courtship takes years to get someone willing to be interviewed. It's generally, the reptile world can be very guarded. People that have them don't want the feds coming and taking their rare reptiles. They don't want animal rights groups, PETA, coming and busting them. They don't want people coming because they're very valuable. Some reptiles are worth a lot of money. So they're very guarded, and to get access to a lot of these people took a lot of time at times. And sometimes that relationship would go up and down, and there were times when people that I was interviewing really did not like me. There was something that happened, and then I would have to go there, and I'd be nervous because that person may have been someone who did a lot of time in prison and did some heavy things in his life. So yeah, there are times when you're just kind of like, is this the time I'm going to go there and he's going to really fuck me up?
Why didn't they like you?
Man, like, listen, I like this guy. He's done what he's done in the past. He was sentenced to 100 years in prison. He got out for whatever reason. But that guy,
Wait a minute. Why did he go to jail for 100 years?
Well, Mario Tabrawi was sentenced to 100 plus years in prison. He got out early because he must have had some serious information.
What was the crime?
Murder and drugs.
And he got out early because he said he had information?
He must have. He did 12 years, and no one knows why.
What? Yeah. He only did 12 years for murder and drugs?
But I like him.
Oh, great.
I wasn't the one murdered. I wasn't in his life back then. But he's kind of he really actually does love animals, I mean, in his way. And I was nervous sometimes going to his place a few times.
But why was he mad at you?
Oh, fuck. Do you remember all the times he was mad at me? He's probably mad at me right now as I'm speaking.
Yeah.
I definitely will be after the show, probably.
Yeah. Well, this is the next episode. There's an entire episode that talks about kind of the 80s in Miami and the sort of overlap between the drug trade and the illegal wildlife trade and the reptile trade. And he's a central character in it.
The 80s in Miami.
Now, he's kind of more tangential because it's really about this guy, Ray Van Nostrand, guy from New Jersey, moved down to Florida, started a business that became strictly reptiles, as I was referencing. But yeah, I mean, I don't think there was anything like particular, but he would get very particular about very specific things. Like if you could be right about a million things that he hated, but wrong about one thing that he cared about the most, and he would categorize you to be this person that is,
There's an expression, honor among thieves, and he weirdly has this kind of honorable side.
Unredeemable, yeah.
And certain things I would say to him would make him really upset. But I have to say, the only time I was ever shot at in my life was in fucking Miami. I was shot at, going to a payphone in the early 90s in a van trying to go to a nightclub with a bunch of people, and these guys were walking towards me, and they started just blowing out the windows of the van. I remember I didn't go to the nightclub. I went back to my hotel, and I woke up in the morning with that chopped, car glass all in my hair. I had long hair back then. I had hair back then. But Miami was, it was pretty wild in the 80s and early 90s.
I have a good friend of mine. My friend Steve did his residency. He's an ophthalmologist. Did his residency in Miami in the 80s. And worked in emergency rooms. And he said it was fucking insane. It's just like so many gunshot wounds, so many drug deals gone bad, so many heists. He said it was like an insane place to work.
It's funny you say that, because I said to all my characters, I said, what's it like, having been in and out of prison so many times? And he goes, bro, everyone in Florida has been in prison. And I was kind of like, well, what's it like, But everyone in Florida's been in prison.
Sunny place with shady people, right?
Have you seen Cocaine Cowboys?
Yeah.
Phenomenal, right? And that story where you find out that the entire graduating class of the police academy either wound up murdered or in jail for corruption.
Yeah. Have you seen Bad Lieutenant?
Yes.
I'm friends with Harvey.
Oh, really?
He's good in it, man.
Oh, yeah. No, it's a great movie.
But there's parts of this story that are a little like Bad Lieutenant. You'll see in the end.
Well, what you'll like about this second episode, about this period, it's from the point of view of this young, at the time, coming right out of college, young DEA agent, DEA agent on the beat, chasing bad guys. And he was assigned this guy, Mario Tabraue. The case that was a cold case, no one could ever touch him. And you see him kind of chase after him and, understand the whole weaving of his story. But it's a really, being around that guy was, talk about the subjects in this animal world, law enforcement.
This guy sleeps with a gun every night and gets literally orgasmic with the thought of this guy coming to his house.
There's like a hideaway
The guy
house,
that he put in prison for 100 years that got out. He literally waits, and you'll see a line in the show that it's kind of unbelievable what he says about that.
Yeah, but just, he lives in this kind of, we went to go see him. He lives in this kind of very kind of, country part of West Virginia. And
he's good with guns.
And he would just, he would brag about all the the bullets you can find from this, left over from the Civil War in his backyard. Yeah. And, he was very, very good with a gun. We did a lot of shooting verite with him. And he was just a really, at the time, very generous with his time, wanting to tell his story. But, clearly killed a lot of people and would make some very soft references to that would be very unnerving, like, yeah, hey, you're really great with it. I've never shot a gun. I don't have anything against it, but I've never shot a gun. And I would talk to him about it. I'm interested in it. And he'd be like, yeah, I've had to use it a lot, more than I'd like to admit. So, you're in these places. It's.
But what's so peculiar about this guy, his name's Larry Lovelace. He was a DEA agent in Florida back in those days. He put this guy in prison, this guy was bringing a lot of drugs from, he was Cuban, and you'll see it in episode 2, but he really just doesn't understand how the guy got out of prison. And the fact that the very guy that put him in prison wouldn't know that whoever the powers that be that got him out of prison after 12 years, you would think he would know, but he's still to this day worried about retaliation.
So this was what's cool is that his dad was actually the person. He was like an HR person for kind of the Cuban. It was at the time of the Cuban Bay of Pigs, invasion, that kind of era, and he was responsible for taking care of all these kind of Cuban exiles during that time. And he was being the one that was going house to house and giving people checks. So he had this kind of very interesting network of people and had this incredible access. And so what was been insinuated is that, his dad had these relationships and knew where everyone was and knew all these people and had information that was useful to the government at the time. That's the idea. Gave information, no surprise.
Or he helped bring down the real Pablo Escobar, or he knew a big drug lord that the government wanted and they made a deal. Who knows? But it could have been, there's lots of theories.
Quite an injustice, though. Like even this guy, we filmed 200 people over how long? 15 years. Really, the last 6 was more intense.
More than 200 people.
And you never get everybody in. Yeah. And I remember meeting this guy, Tony Biscaro. Remember him?
Yeah.
This guy was part of, he flew planes for drugs. He got busted with I think 600,000, pounds of weed at the time. He served the single largest sentence for a marijuana smuggling crime, 40 years. 40 years. Got out maybe 5 years ago. Yeah. And could you imagine coming out of prison for the longest sentence and then going to Miami and you see weed stores everywhere? You know what I mean? Your fucking life's over and you see these weed stores. It's like insane to me.
That's fucked up.
But that was at a time. Look, Pablo Escobar. Like there were people around Pablo Escobar that got indicted that were trafficking ivory horns and stuff. Like it was very, there one degree of separation for like wildlife crime and drugs in that era.
Why do you think there's that connection?
Easy concealment.
I mean, look, I don't want to exaggerate. I think there's been connections, like you can put cocaine inside of a boa constrictor. Who's going to open a box at customs or, Fish and Wildlife Service and look inside the boa constrictor? So there's some pretty ingenious ways to
Meaning you put it in their stomach?
Yeah, like you either force feed the boa constrictor, like you put them in those balloons, you put cocaine in, or you even...
And then you have to cut them open to get your cocaine?
Yeah, you cut them open and get your cocaine.
Yeah, but even more...
I remember in New York when the fish markets used to put drugs...
You speak so casually about that, by the way.
But fish markets used to put the drugs in fish in the fish markets in New York.
Cocaine, yeah.
Yeah, because no one wants to handle the fish and open up the fish, and they'd shove all the drugs into the fish. So, like smelly, dangerous animals are good cover for drugs.
Or even more
used to
simply,
be.
trafficking wildlife. There was a legal version of that. So what they would do is take the crates, and they'd pack them, and they'd put the drugs at the bottom, and they'd put another layer of animals, and they'd mix in some look-alike animals that were really rare but looked like the common animal. So they'd mix them together, and then they put something like spitting cobras up the top. And no one was reaching into the crate when there was these like very dangerous animals. So that's how they kind of got they were able to prey on the lack of resources at these kind of major ports of entry, and realize that Fish and Wildlife didn't really have any resources at the time. Yeah. They had limited wildlife inspectors. They had to go through these volumes of crates, and they play these games.
Many Komodo dragons that made it into this country came in illegally in a crate, and they would just put a little Komodo dragon in with some other monitor lizards, and the inspectors couldn't tell the difference. And they'd go through, and the Komodo dragon that bit Sharon Stone's husband at the Los Angeles Zoo is one of those Komodo dragons.
So it was somebody's private collection, and then they got released to the zoo?
No, it was in a sting that's in our show where they were bringing in illegal animals coming from a guy in Malaysia who's sort of the Pablo Escobar, the kingpin globally of all the reptile animal trade, a guy that we finally accessed after COVID, who his name is Anson Wong, and he was sort of the bad guy number one in the world for reptile and animal smuggling. And so he was sending
by Interpol and all.
Well, he did the longest sentence in the U.S. for wildlife crime ever at the time in the 90s. He was busted in Mexico, and then extradited into the U.S. But he was bringing in Komodo dragons and really rare reptiles, and the zoos were the beneficiary of those reptiles once they were confiscated. So the L.A. Zoo, San Diego Zoo, Bronx Zoo, a lot of these animals came from reptile smugglers.
Wow.
Very much the origins of collections.
Yeah.
For zoos.
And I would also imagine that the kind of people that are really into reptiles probably also do drugs. So they probably know a lot of people in that world.
Yeah, it's like a cross-section of
You're into death metal, you got a python.
So there's a lot of inked guys. There's a lot of like goth guys into hot snakes, which are the venomous. A lot of bikers.
Hot snakes.
Hot snakes means
that's what they call them?
Hot snakes.
It means the kind that can kill you.
Yeah, they're called hot snakes.
Interesting.
But yeah, a lot of badass guys. And there was definitely drugs. Listen, I did drugs in my life. So
no way.
Yes.
Come on. I'll go on.
I've done everything. I had nightclubs in New York City for many years, Joe. Yeah, I'm like, embalmed. It's made me live longer.
Maybe that's what saved you when you got bit by the rattlesnake.
Probably.
But you got to think that the type of people that are going to be even interested in having a snake as a pet, that's a very unusual person.
I like snakes.
Yeah, I don't know.
Come on, people that have snakes. Kids have ball pythons. You've got kids. They like a ball python. They're clean. You don't have to feed it every day like a rabbit or a dog. You can go on vacation, leave your ball python. They're a good pet. A lot of snakes.
I don't think of them as a pet. I think of them as a monster that you feed that allows you, it's not big enough to eat you, so it just allows you to feed it. And then you have to keep it in this box, which is kind of weird.
Yeah, well that's why I like tortoises. You don't have to keep them in a cage or a box.
Because does a snake, do they experience discomfort because they're in a terrarium?
Listen, there's a lot of myth out there that, snakes can live in a little teeny like sweater box or a shoe box, and you can put them in racks like you see in snake stores and snake breeders.
Like a rack of shoes.
The truth is, real snakes in the wild do not live in little boxes. They may go in the underground at a certain time of year and hibernate. But they come out and they hang out like us and they move around. And most snakes do not live in a little teeny box. But yes, they can survive in a box. But there's all different kinds of snakes. There's racer snakes and indigo snakes and snakes that need to move fast and go places. And then there's some snakes like a ball python that can be in a more confined space, but you can't generalize.
But generally, like when people keep them as pets, they keep them in some kind of an aquarium, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they should give them more space. They should absolutely give them more space. I mean, part of what we're trying to do in this show is try to tell people, be responsible. Don't treat reptiles like disposable pets, like a toy that you break one week and then you buy another one, and you break it and the parents buy another one. They're living creatures. The death toll when you import these animals is amazing. I mean, it's so much mortality. And we don't talk about mortality, whether it's zoos or people bringing in these reptiles, or even myself over the years. You asked me what happened to that snake. It probably died. It probably was flushed down a toilet by someone's mom. Jeez. You know, like baby green turtles that you had as a kid. Like what happened to most of those?